All right, the stream should be started. We are currently tracking potential for tornadoes, wind gusts, and hail today. We have a 5% tornado risk, 15% wind risk, and a 15 significant hail risk across portions of Texas today. I'm gonna close out some tabs that we don't need anymore. Then we're gonna broadcast this on Twitter real quick. Let me go and So here's a look at our tornado warning right now. There is a tornado warning for areas um just to the north of Abilene. Current environment is 86 and 63 over there. So environment isn't the most favorable, but I think it is along that outflow boundary maybe. Actually doesn't look like it's along the outflow boundary. A little surprising that we have a supercell producing, potentially producing, but nothing on CC yet, so it's not on the ground or anything, but definitely interesting for sure. Um, this storm has had 1.5-inch hail reported with it as well, and I'm gonna load up another radar for areas further west as well. Should get somebody to tune in, because I just got it. Should be on my Discord profile too, because I have everything connected there. Okay, so we have a severe thunderstorm warning up by Amarillo. As well. Nothing too urgent there for now. I'm just looking around right now as that tornado warning storm doesn't look like it's going to produce at the moment. If we look tilt aloft, there looks like to be two competing circulations, one on the leading flank and another one over here. So we're basically waiting for these to fire. I think that's actually going through a storm merger, and it's now moving southeast. So I just put on storm relative, which is going to be a slightly more accurate representation of what's ongoing right now. Got a new reflectivity scan in. Looks like the best supercell further west is out just east of La Mesa. So, and that's all good chasing terrain over there as well. Let's just go back to regular velocity. Looks like we got a new velocity scan. Looks like we have a new severe warning as well. That's for 70-mile-per-hour wind, 1-inch hail, and a tornado possible as well. So considerable warning tag on that. If anybody has questions or anything that they would like to answer, go ahead. Not doing too much right now. I did jam my finger yesterday, which is a little annoying. But that's okay. It'll heal. Looks like there's going to be lots of different opportunities for severe weather in the long range as well across the Midwest, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Probably later if nothing's happening. Looks like there is a circulation trying to develop right here. We also have convergence further to the south here. So there's definitely going to be stuff to watch in the intermediate future with this. Hail's also a big time threat. Looks like there's a circulation here developing. Let's go aloft a bit and look at it. Okay, so the main circulation aloft is generally right here, which makes sense because that's the main circulation as you get lower to the ground as well, and we are at about 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet with that radar. I can pull up a real-time analysis RAP sounding as well for the area, and we can just look at that really quickly. I'm going to pull that up as we speak so that we can look at that. Okay, so it is currently 22 Zulu time. So, here is the current RAP analysis profile that we have, and it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of low-level curvature on this thing. Lots of it, as you can see here, but there's not a lot of storm relativity. And the hodograph is going to favor more hail production because of the straightness to it. It's not really turning too much, aside from around 2 kilometers or so. There is some about to 3 Cape, which is going to help tornado potential. Rapid cooling aloft with the temperature profile as well. But this seems like more of a damaging wind type of threat. We have a inverted V profile toward the surface, 62 on 85, with a lot of dry air toward the surface, so probably a lot of water-loaded downbursts. If something can get organized, we may see a tornado here, but tornadoes appear pretty unlikely. I can also look at the VWP as well and kind of show that, because this storm is heading in the general direction of the Dyess Air Force Base. And okay, so the vertical wind profile shows a little bit more surface turning right here, really. And then after that, the hodograph is straight, like very straight. So it does get into kind of like the supercell profiles for a bit, based off the SR wind and height, but yeah. Let's go look at the storm relative hodograph with that anyway. Storm relative hodographs are better. So yeah, your storms are going to be, the storms that are going to ingest a little bit more vorticity are probably going to be smaller. On a large scale, these storms are going to be big. And we can see these storms are big because they took on some mergers. Looks like there is an outflow boundary that this thing kicked out, maybe? Probably tornado potential is probably going to be right here where there's convergence, south of Larders by a long way, west of the radar. Looking at any other storms, there are 2 other rotating supercells in Texas that I can quickly show you. Off the Lubbock, Texas radar. And here they are. So we have one that is southeast of La Mesa, and then we have another one that is southeast of Gale. Both of these are along an outflow boundary from convection yesterday, from an event that had a couple tornadoes, big hail, and awesome structure. And all these are in an environment that is locally favorable for tornadoes. And this storm seems to be the storm that's taking advantage of that environment right now, southwest of Snyder. It's right along that boundary as well. This storm, if we go in upper tilt, it's taking advantage of that environment, but it hasn't gotten toward the surface quite yet. We can see maybe some signs of a mesocyclone forming here. Kind of hard to tell from Lubbock. That cell might be actually more viewable from Midland. The tornado warning has been dropped on that storm west of Albany, Texas, but the hail signatures have increased significantly. We're talking about probably 1.75 to 2 inch sized hail most likely with that storm, and I can show you that on GR2 Analyst. That is a nasty hail core. Let me show you what that thing is looking like. That is a big time hail core, and you can see those white values are going to be the values where you're having higher precip values fall, and all that is going to be hail. So Albany, Texas, watch out. This is probably going to be a pretty big hail producer. Morin as well. Thankfully, this is not going to hit Abilene. Radar's estimating 2.75 inch hail, or it's probably hail around 2 inches with that storm. I wouldn't, maybe not quite baseballs, but definitely 2 inches. 71.5 dBz is a pretty high dBz number. Velocities are quite strong, 55 to 60 knots, so this thing's probably producing 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. Tornado potential is probably pretty low, except for right here. There might be something trying to spin up, but other than that, a little bit more uncertain for now. We'll go back to Lubbock, and then we could probably actually switch to Midland as well, just to get a view on those storms. And I will also pull up an HRRR analysis sounding as well. The hodograph keeps getting bigger out of the Abilene area, which is interesting as well. Why don't I pick a sounding out of that area that is going to represent the environment there out of southwestern Texas right now. So yeah, there is for sure an outflow boundary there. North of Midland, north of Big Spring, HRRR picks up on it. Where are these storms anyway? Okay, so this one has pretty strong rotation off the Midland radar. This one has a little bit weaker rotation, so we may have been seeing side lobe contamination. There's definitely a mesocyclone with this one aloft, though. So it looks like the storm's probably right here, I would assume. So we're going to look at the RAB analysis right now of what that storm is in. So, that is an environment. So the western storm is definitely in a very solid environment for tornado production. As we move over here, we can see that this sounding is relatively favorable for tornadoes. You have lots of 0 to 1 kilometer turning within the profile, unlike the other area. But also, this turning happens a little bit further above in the atmosphere. It keeps turning until about 6 kilometers. You have a moderate amount of instability as well. So these storms will probably be producing big hail because of the straighter hodographs in the middle levels. But you can see there's a box type of hodo in the lower levels, which is amplifying mix of crosswise and streamwise vorticity, which Cameron Nixon has videos on. If you need a refresher or just don't know what that is. 3 Cape is a measurement of low-level instability, which it's quite high, which that is important for tornado production, and lapse rates, or the cooling aloft, is pretty strong as well, which is creating that stronger instability. Looking into the environment as we have a second here, there is a low pressure system. I'll kind of do the surface map. There's a low pressure system that is formed really right here, I would say, and there's another one further to the north. This one is tied up with an outflow boundary that has situated itself really right here, and there are several different tornadic supercells riding that outflow boundary. And you know what? This is why this storm is riding the outflow boundary, which is why it briefly almost dropped a tornado. There's also other supercells forming down by the Sanderson area in Texas as well. We have a dry line that is forming in probably right about here is where that dry line is forming. Actually, no. So that might be a cold front. Here's where the dry line is most likely. The dry line's most likely here. And then there's probably some sort of cold front that's back off it. We can look at the Weather Prediction Center's analysis of this as well. So the 18Z analysis showed a low pressure system, dry line outflow boundary. There are 2 different outflow boundaries, one there, and then one from Oklahoma in. And no wonder. So this outflow boundary has sagged its way southward a lot more, which has caused that Abilene supercell to become tornadic, and all those supercells along the outflow boundary further to the west to become tornadic. We also could see some severe weather in Colorado today as well, although the chances of that are a little bit lower. Wind and hail are the main threats up there, perhaps a landspout tornado as well. Pulse storms are likely across the Midwest. There was an outflow boundary observed at 18Z somewhere in the Midwest that I can't even find right now. Oh, yeah, here it is. Right here and right here. Now, sorry for bouncing back at multiple stuff, but now let's look at the 3 Cape on the surface analysis of the SPC site. And look at where all that vorticity is. That is right along that outflow boundary. All of it. There's not the highest 3 Cape values, but the westernmost storm is in a very solid environment for itself. HRRR in 2 hours shows that Abilene storm continuing and those western storms continuing too. Also an environment favorable for supercells in New Mexico and West Texas. The New Mexico storms fizzle, and everything starts to fizzle as we get toward about midnight, but I probably won't be streaming a lot at that point. Okay, so this storm, that is near K, Texas, is starting to look very interesting off of the Midland radar, which I will look at right now. So there you go, that's the Midland radar. I'm here to interrupt your live broadcast to say that there is the least snowy there to say that summer is the least snowy season for most places that receives. What? What? That was, I don't even know what that man was trying to say. Okay. Thank you, Stormblade. But yeah, look at all these Storm Chasers here lined up for this Supercell right here by Vincent. And then we have all these Storm Chasers lined up for the Supercell by K. Or Key, not K. So I was saying that wrong, my bad. Tomorrow also could be a big severe weather day as well. And it's going to be generally over the same areas. We're going to have to watch for a remnant outflow boundary. That's probably going to be somewhere close to Midland for Stockton tomorrow. Watch out for tornado potential with that. Maybe a 10 hatched could get issued, or at least a 10% non-sig if confidence exists for higher low-level shear along said boundary. Hail will be the main threat, though, and probably damaging winds as well. So yeah, here's the main circulation right now, which is starting to grow strength, and we can look at loft, and it's not that big, and that's because this is more of a mini supercell type structure, which is more fed on the low levels. Well, this one is more of a more robust supercell. This one has only tops of 25,000 feet on it, and they haven't really been weakening. These ones tops have got around 33,000 feet, so these are lower top supercells, which is pretty typical for outflow boundary stuff. The supercell out toward Abilene has tops of like 40,000 feet, so it's a little bit higher topped. It's also dealing with a little bit more instability as well at some points. No more severe warning on that storm near Snyder as well. That was canceled. Okay. Do you guys want me to look at tomorrow? Well, today is a little bit more slower because we could very much look at tomorrow, forecast it, dissect it, and then come back to today. If it's looking a little bit more robust at some point, which it definitely could. All right, next response. All right, so here is the HRRR for tomorrow. So, here's it for the rest of today. It's doing pretty good, initialized pretty well. And those storms kind of form off into an MCV on the HRRR and they lift northward. Storms erupt early tomorrow. We're talking 15, 16Z up in the northern panhandle of Texas here. And those are going to be very large hail producers at first, with potential for maybe a tornado or two and some damaging winds as well, before they grow upscale into clusters and really become messy. They'll be wind producers by that point, potentially hail producers still. The southern storms that are a little bit more or less touched are going to be potentially a little bit more dangerous and probably will have a little bit more tornado potential to them. If these storms can realize the small bit of low-level shear and turn right, there will be some small tornado threat with them. Also have to watch Oklahoma tomorrow as well for some severe weather, potentially some damaging wind gusts and large hail. As we get further into the day, though, these are going to be the main supercells that are probably going to produce the most significant hazards that are going to initiate northwest of Del Rio by a good margin, out in western Texas. These storms are going to have a lot more upper level wind shear to work with. You can see the photographs are looking very straight, which is going to contribute to a very large hail threat, as well as the thermodynamic profiles being relatively thick in nature with Mixler cape of 2,000 plus joules per kilogram. There will be some tornado threat with these storms, but probably the main tornado threat is going to be toward western Texas with any of the storms that form out there. Or if there is storms that form out here in like southeast New Mexico. Actually, no, the dry line already passed. But yeah, as you can see, this northern cluster becomes a mess, and the southern storms stay more discreet. As we get towards sunset, the low-level jet does increase, but I don't see tornadoes being a huge threat. Maybe the southern side of this MCS could crank out a couple tornadoes, which, yeah, that definitely could if storms realize this very low-level shear heavy environment. Oh, what's up, Zach? Why are you calling me a nerd? Stop it and go get some help, okay? You know I can nerd emoji you back, Zach. You know that. I forgot what server. Oh, yep, there's the server. Zach, I'm coming for you. Okay, well, that issue has been taken care of. These storms will merge into an MCS, move into Oklahoma, and potentially bring a severe threat before they shear themselves out. The next day, some severe storms are possible across portions of the high plains again, along that dry line there in western Texas. Tornadoes probably won't be a huge threat. Yeah, it looks like mainly a hail day. And there is no current day 3 severe risk as well. We do have a day 2 enhanced, 5% tour, 15 wind, 30 hatch tail. There probably will be a day 3 marginal added in Texas, most likely. In the northern plains, isolated severe weather is also going to be possible, even though the SPC does not include you guys in a marginal. Tomorrow probably will be a day where you'll have bands of supercells form along a low pressure system. Some of these a little bit more organized up to in Montana. Looking at an environment characterized by not very strong deep layer shear, but a rather moist environment, so some large hail will be possible and damaging wind gusts as well. And those storms will fizzle off as we get toward the nighttime. Nebraska has a more real severe threat, as there's a little bit more upper level wind shear down over there. Let's go into the central U.S. and so yeah, so it looks like storms are probably going to initiate earlier further to the south than they are up into the east, and it just looks messy across the central plains and southern plains tomorrow. Hail and wind are going to be a possibility here, given the more drier air profiles. Some more organized developments possible in Nebraska, but it's going to be pretty disorganized. The ETRIF ensemble hits on a couple areas of more focused severe weather potential tomorrow. One actually is up in the northeast, and there's another one just north of Sanderson, Texas, and then we have another one from Midland up toward Amarillo, and then we have another focus area in Nebraska/Kansas, and then there's another one up in Montana. So there's going to be multiple areas of severe weather potential tomorrow, so just have your eye out. The areas with highest tornado risk, though, is going to be somewhere in Texas. Not exactly sure where yet. Can I have a 15 hatch tour in Ohio? Yeah. No, not happening. Good luck with that one. That's all I'll say. Okay, let's go switch over to the radar for now. Just gonna see if anybody. So it looks like the storms in New Mexico are stable and outflowy, so no tornado potential with those. So it looks like the storm west of what's it called? West of the Diaz Air Force Base radar has turned into an outflow show, with the rotation on radar really decreasing. There is a supercell to its southwest that is got some rotation, but not too big. Looks like the storm near Gale, Texas is low precipitation. Brody is on that storm. Brody Weather. He's on Twitter. He caught tornadoes in New Mexico yesterday, so I will be using the bathroom. I will put this on a radar loop while I do so. If anything interesting happens while I'm gone, we'll talk about it when I get back. Alright, I think I'm gonna end the stream here. Looks like the